Giant Voice, the official podcast of the United States Navy's largest overseas installation, Commander Fleet Activities, Yokosuka. All the information you need to succeed as a forward deployed sailor in Japan. Each week, we tackle one topic and speak to experts who can answer some of your most frequently asked questions. This is the Giant Voice Podcast.
So, welcome everybody again to another episode of the Giant Voice Podcast. I'm Dave Fluellen, been your host a few times so far. Today we have Mr. Randall Balcom, who is the Public Affairs Officer for Fleet Activities Yokosuka here, and he is going to be talking to Captain Les Sobol, Commander Fleet Activities Yokosuka, our leader here, and egg salad sandwich connoisseur himself. So why don't you gentlemen take it away?
Well, sir, thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be with us here today. The Giant Voice podcast is a project we've been working on for a while now, and really looking forward to hearing what you had to say to the community today.
Well, listen, I look forward to the opportunity here to be on the Giant Voice podcast. I'm a big fan of everything you do, and I really appreciate just one more avenue of communicating with everyone here at CFAY.
All right, so since taking command here in July, tell us a little bit about what you've seen and what you're honing in on in the 2023.
All right, well, let me just start by saying that I've seen some things that I've never seen before on board a base. I've been to places that the normal public don't normally have an opportunity to go to. Spent some time at the brig, and you'd be like, wow, Captain Sobol, you spent some time at the brig. Tell me what that was like. It was amazing. It was probably the best run operation I've seen on the base. And I'm super happy it's well run, and the people there were just so professional, and they were just locked into everything. I'm also glad that most people on the base, they're never going to get a chance to see it.
Right.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Certainly so. So we're coming out of COVID, and how do you see us moving on in the remainder of this year?
Well, coming out of COVID, it's just it's one thing that I hear a lot. It's like every time something isn't quite right, or we call it NKR, not quite right. Folks say, well, it's because of COVID. Well, why don't we have this service, or why aren't we providing this for the community? Cam, we used to do that, but COVID. And, so our challenge is to accelerate through every time we hear the phrase, well, we used to do it like that. It used to be really good, but, COVID. So, having said that, we're taking a look and a hard look at everything that we're doing. To give a fair assessment, I think that the base is doing a good job at taking care of families, and there's room for improvement. And boy, we're looking for all the feedback we could get to help us be successful there. But one part that I saw and I've observed is that, we got to do a better job with single sailors. We really got to, put our best foot forward and really kind of up the offerings and kind of up our game a little bit. And especially because we get the chance to say, it's not because of COVID.
I look forward to that. I know there's a lot of sailors out there that have had a lot of concerns. We do have been very family focused in the past, so having more programs for our single sailors and making things more available, that's going to be a good thing.
Well, and don't get me wrong, right? It's not going to be at the expense of families like that. What we're doing there is good, and trust me, there's room for improvement there too. But what I see is I think there's a bigger deficit for the single sailors, and I'm putting a little bit more effort and energy and focus on upping those offerings.
So, yeah, I guess what you're saying is like, hey, because of COVID is not an excuse anymore for doing something differently than maybe we had done in the past.
Or I would say for not doing something that we had done in the past that people really liked. Like, hey, do you remember when we used to do this? And everybody's like, oh, yeah, it was great. And like, yeah, we don't do that anymore. Why not? Well, COVID.
Right.
All right. So I know within CFAY, we've been working hard on addressing sailor pay.
Oh my gosh, you're talking about one of the favorite things I like to talk about. I love to talk about sailor pay, and more importantly, I love to talk about fixing sailor pay.
Well, that's something that definitely needs to happen.
Yeah, so for us internally, whenever we get a report of a sailor saying, "Hey, listen, sir, I haven't been paid correctly," the first thing that we do is we get all the information that we can get. And then I reach out to my administrative officer, Warrant Officer Chavez, and I just say, hey, let's get all the information, and then let's make this public. So what we do is we take a complete listing, and we get the 5 W's, the who, what, where, when, and why, and we post it right up on the monitors in our main building, to where every sailor that comes into the headquarters could look up on those monitors, see their initials and a synopsis of the pay problem as we understand it, and then the status of where it's at and when we think it's going to be resolved. And, that helps us hold one another accountable, because it's one thing when you talk about, yeah, I'm aware that a sailor has a pay problem. It's something else when you have every monitor in your headquarters building when you walk into the entry passageway that's lit up and it's scrolling with sailors' pay problems. We're not hiding any of it. As a matter of fact, we think that the more visible we could make it and the more public we could make it, it provides that type of pressure to hold one another accountable, and it keeps it clear in our minds, what we need to do. And it's very important. Like, I could tell people all the stories I could think of about how great I want things to be, or how I want folks to achieve. But if we're not paying them, all those stories are going to fall flat. Like, I'm not going to have their interest, or they might be like, yeah, hey, Captain, that was a really cool story, but can you pay me?
I just read a thing recently where it was like, oh, people quit jobs because like they don't feel appreciated or anything, and then the first comment is like, no, it's because of money. Like, at the end of the day, like, it is people. Yeah, it's the most important thing. Right?
Well, and it's a weird thing, right? Because I came into the Navy and I didn't have 2 nickels to rub together,
right?
And I just wanted to get some money for education and for college, and I was only going to be here for a couple of years, and then I was going to get out and do my thing. And, what happened was I found a community, and I found a purpose, and I found a way of life that really, struck a chord with me. And that's a really cool thing. But for these young sailors that are here and they're doing it, for me to uphold my end of the bargain and to kind of look at myself in the mirror and like who I see when I'm looking back at that person, at team bare minimum, we got to get their pay right. Yeah. Like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, good. I think a lot of people will be very happy with that answer. I know I would if I was still a junior sailor, certainly.
Well, I could tell you, right? So we're working it, and it's not falling on deaf ears. And I'm really blessed to have an admin officer like Warrant Officer Chavez. The guy used to run a pay center. So he can go over and he knows where all the levers are, and he can help. There's definitely a throughput problem with what we're doing, but we're not making any excuses. And I'll tell you right now, you won't hear any of us look at any of our sailors and tell them the reason why they're not getting paid is because of COVID.
Bringing it back around.
Bringing it around. Getting real, getting better.
Yeah.
All right, so we're looking like we got a busy new year coming on. Lots of things going on. We got a couple of ships coming in. We got a major big open base event also happening in March. And, of course, we're having a lot of training exercises, sir. So could you take a moment and just kind of tell us about some of those things?
When you come in here and you take a look at what's going on in the new year, it's a lot like, running and jumping on top of a runaway train as it's moving, and you're just trying to hang on for dear life, and you're trying to figure out how to, get a good grip and then improve your position as we move forward through it. The holiday seasons, when you look at it, right, we went from October through Halloween to Thanksgiving, and then through all the Christmas festivities. We'll ring in the new year, and then it's, we're on the training cycle. We're looking at our security forces, our teams getting absolutely certified and checked out. Because COVID is ended, all the folks that have put off all of their certification visits to Japan and to Yokosuka, they're traveling again, and they can't wait to come back out. So we're going to get a really good look. And, because someone's going to look really hard, we got to be ready. Because, if you ever ask me, hey, Capt Sobol, can you find something wrong with that? I say, yeah. Hey, how hard do you want me to look? Because if I look hard enough, I'll find something wrong. And that's kind of what's going to happen. Is this is like an open challenge to our certification authorities, is they haven't been here for a while. So because they haven't been here for a while, they're going to come out and they're going to give us a really good hard look. So it's on us. Yeah, it's on us to make sure that we don't make it easy on them to find a whole bunch of stuff wrong. As a matter of fact, we don't want them to find anything wrong. We want them to find, our folks are training and they're working really hard and they're doing their best. And if we uphold our end of the bargain, everything is going to turn out all right. But bottom line is there's going to be a lot of stuff, right? Because we have training events, we have to take care of the community. There are needs that are being pushed, all the way up to the top. And we got to figure out how to sort through that and prioritize it as best we can, all while maintaining, really good relations with our host nation of Japan, right? Because they're really good partners. And that's kind of the part that can't get lost in the sauce, is that we are really here to make sure that this alliance is super strong because, the world needs it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so looking ahead, we have Springfest.
Yes. Springfest, it's an open base event. It's an open base event. We partner with the city of Yokosuka. And by the way, they're tremendous partners.
Oh, yeah.
Like everything we do, every success we have, they're a part of it. And that's really what it means to be part of a team. So the city of Yokosuka and the base CFAY, we partner together and we put on just a world-class open base event. We open up our ships, we open up the base, and we give tours, and we just embrace the community. We did it in September, and it was tremendous. I don't want to talk numbers. I don't want to sound like anybody, like in politics or anything, but it was big. It was really big.
I saw the numbers. I saw, what did we estimated 50,000, and that's not including all the people who waited and unfortunately couldn't get on. That was way over the over-under that I had.
And we're already trying to get ahead of the guests that we're expecting for Springfest by working with the city to figure out the best way to get the Japanese visitors access to the installation.
And that's part of it too, right? It's being a good neighbor, a good member of the community, and making sure that we take care of our partners out in town.
Wow, we got a lot of construction planned for the starting of new projects. We refer to it as FAP-K. A lot of community center at Akago, looking at unaccompanied housing construction projects starting. Can you relay any of that impact on the community, what that may look like?
What the biggest thing that we could really do is just communicate to folks that we're looking to, improve infrastructure. And, out in Akago, we're looking at, we're still renovating townhomes. We're on plan in the next few years to deliver a new commissary there, new MWR sports facilities there. So we're really kind of, looking out and looking forward to taking care of that community and giving them new stuff and giving them things to be proud of. We continue to engage with our community in Akago. I mean, and you guys know this, right? So I open up here on the main base in order to get community feedback. Twice a month I open up my office for just feedback, and we call it breaking the ice, because the people put in the ice comments to to get leadership attention on issues that they believe that warrant attention. So as they do that, a lot of times folks will think that some of their concerns are going unaddressed. So in order to put those fears to rest, we open up the office and we'll discuss anything. So I'll give up my lunchtime. I strategically take lunchtime because, if I'm taking lunch, odds are someone else is taking lunch too. And it'll give them an opportunity if they're on the main base to swing by and talk about it. And, that's been going fairly well. Out in Ikego, we go out for coffee there. And we, my public affairs department has coined it as Cup of Joe with the CO.
I like that.
And it tell you it's working. And the biggest thing is we show up there, and the spouses in the community, they show up and they have a prioritized list of things that they would like to discuss. And I'm telling you, Ikego is really organized. Like they show up with what they want to do and what they'd like to see fixed, and even sometimes they have like a marketing campaign, which at first I was like, well, all right, okay, Ikego, I see you. Hey, Captain, there's a crosswalk that's not lit quite correctly. We started calling it the crosswalk of death. And I was like, oh my, we cannot have a crosswalk of death on anything.
Colloquially, nothing can be the crosswalk of death.
No, but they brought it up. And of course I turn around and I look at my security officer and I look at my lawyer and I look at all the other folks that are there to help me. I'm like, all right, we're take action on this like right now.
Your lawyer probably broke out in a flop sweat.
Oh, no, she was like, hey, sir, listen, we could get action on this like right now. I'm like, you bet we're going to get action on this right now. But so, they're very organized and very forward-leaning with their ideas or their thoughts. And I mean, even one, they told us that they wanted a spin instructor to teach 5:30 in the morning. They wanted a spin class. And I was like, okay, well, we could look and get you an instructor. And they were like, well, no, we would like to request the instructor. And I was like, okay, well, all right. Well, we got to look to get one. So tell me what you would like. And they were like, well, we'd like him to be 27 years old and prior Army. And we would like him to be like, chiseled and, kind of thin, maybe a little under 6 feet tall.
Hey, good for you, Ikego.
No, like they really know what they want. And then the one
His
spouse,
name's Dustin, and he works over there.
Nah, she drew a picture. She drew a picture of him, and she said he needs to look kind of like this, Cap. And I was like, where'd you get that picture? And she said, in my dreams. So, I mean, let me tell you, like when folks are that specific, they really help you help them.
They know what they want.
They know what they want. And you know what? Who doesn't appreciate somebody that knows what they want?
It's true.
Well, I think this last time at Cup of Joe for a CO, they were talking about judo.
Yeah, no, they wanted judo mats. And listen, I don't want to stand in between anybody and their judo dreams coming true.
Yeah.
But I mean, listen, and this is kind of what it comes back to is if there's a service or there's something that we could provide that community, if they communicate that to us, we're going to take action on it. So, they wanted judo mats and they came to me, the spouses there, and they said, we have a judo instructor that teaches judo on the main base. He said the only obstacle to teaching judo on Ikego is judo mats.
No judo mats.
So I looked there, like, hey, judo mats. Let's make this happen. Like, if that's what this community wants, and we want what they want, let's help them. So a lot of times that's really what it comes down to. And really, when you look at it, it's about kind of breaking through trust deficits. I don't know how things kind of devolved, but what I've observed is a lot of times folks just want to talk on social media or tweet things out and think that that's the way to get things done. And, a lot of times if you send a tweet out or you post something on social media, it might make you feel good, but, you're not certain it's going to get to the right folks or you're not certain actions are going to get taken. I'm here to tell you and kind of reinforce or foot stomp that if you come and you engage with leadership, they want to help you.
This is something when I spoke to Admiral Lottie a couple weeks ago, he said the same thing when we were talking about SOFA was just like, if you want answers, the other person on social media who also is in the same position as you is probably not the person you want to reach out to. It's better just to go to the source and to ask, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's certainly helpful, right? But so the things that a lot of times folks don't have an opportunity to see is you'll take the information back, and then you want to be a good steward of that information. So you're going to engage with experts. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to take a look at something, and it's not like I'm hemming or hawing or throwing a dart at a dartboard. I'm going to go back. I'm going to talk to experts in the area that the request is in, and then I'm going to go back and I'm going to talk to my lawyer. And I'm going to make sure that it's legal, and we're going to move forward, and we're going to try to be very deliberate about it. But more importantly, we're going to try to do it in a smooth and elegant manner. I mean, functional and jagged works, but if you're in a pinch, but if we have a choice, I would like things to be smooth and elegant.
All right, sir. So 2023, man, that year went fast, didn't it?
Sure did.
A lot faster than COVID.
Yeah.
21, 20. That's for sure. Hey. So what are your goals and objectives looking forward for the installation in the coming year?
Oh my goals and objectives. Well, first of all, my goal and objective is to do my level best to take care of this community. And in order to do that, one, we have to communicate relentlessly and we have to communicate effectively. And that's just two-way communication. That's letting folks know what's going on and allowing people to know what to expect. And then, listening for understanding when we receive feedback for the community and what we can do. And, I want to provide access to folks. I want to have meaningful conversations. And then I want to turn those conversations and that access that we provide into action. And, and that's really kind of one of the main ways that I want to bridge some of these trust deficits that we're seeing. I don't want folks reaching out to community activists or somebody else online because they think that that's their only way to get something solved. Because, to be honest, that's not really an effective way to get it solved. Kind of like we discussed earlier when Admiral Lottie was on here, right? You just talk to the guy in charge. I'm giving you access. I'm making myself available. But, in order to make all that come to fruition, folks got to trust you. And I know sometimes that's a big ask because these folks just met me. They don't know if they trust me or they don't, and it's probably valid. So over time, by providing access and communicating and showing action, I'm hoping to build some trust, and that's really my aim. And the more trust we could build, I think the more successful that will be. It'll gain momentum and it'll kind of take a life of its own.
One of the other things that we've seen it on the marquee, and I know we've talked about it a lot. Priority 1 and Priority 3, teamwork and ship shape. You want to talk about those programs?
Well, listen, teamwork is everything. So when you have just a group of people, working, and if they're only thinking about their own agenda, or if they're only thinking about their own lane, well, they could have some modicum of success. They could be successful in what they're doing individually, but here's the things that won't happen, right? They won't be backing one another up. They won't be picking one another up when they're down. They may or may not be celebrating one another's wins, right? Because I think it's really important to build that type of reinforcement into everything that you do. It needs to be baked in, and a lot of that's trust, kind of what we talked about. But really, if I have folks that are backing one another up and trying their best, I'm telling you, no matter what happens, we're going to be all right because we're doing it the right way. And I really believe there are two ways to do things: the right way and again. So I'm trying really hard to make sure that we're not picking an again. We just want to do it the right way. And then the ship shape, I was so glad Admiral Paparo came out with that fleet order, because what it really did was, kind of like we talked about when people say, well, because of COVID, when you try to make suggestions to have our available workforce tackle problems, folks will say, oh, no, contractors got to do that. Cap, you can't use sailors to do that because, you got to get a contractor to do that. And it's like, no, absolutely not. Like, we're in charge of this base and its appearance and the professional image that it projects, that's on all of us. And we just can't walk by that and shrug our shoulders and say that that's on some contractor to take care of, or it's on some civilian worker. I mean, listen, God bless our contractors and our civilian workers. I think they do fantastic work. I think they do. But you know what? This is a big base. This is the largest OCONUS installation the Navy has. It takes everybody. And a lot of times, when we notice things that are NKR not quite right, we're going to leverage everybody we got to make it right. And ShipShape really kind of opened the door for that. And it really did help me kind of slam the door on the excuses about why you can't get stuff done. So I thought it was very helpful, and I really appreciated it.
Yeah, another thing that came up in town hall third quarter was unaccompanied housing. And I know that the command's done quite a bit to try to improve the conditions in the unaccompanied housing areas. Could you expand on that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, unaccompanied housing, this is what we get back to when we talk about single sailors, right? We have folks that live on this base and they don't have any other options. So when they go back to their barracks room, that's their home. And, it's incumbent on us to make sure that home is as professional looking as possible. And if it's not, I want to know about it, because I tell you right now, I'll break what I'm doing and I'll go right down there to look at it, and I'll make sure that resources are diverted and we get these rooms fixed. But right now I've been through all these rooms and they're all sat. And then I'm telling you right now, with the acting N9 department head that I have in there, Lieutenant Commander Beener, if he thinks something isn't right, he's coming straight to me, and we're going to go together with the Master Chief, and we're going to make sure it gets fixed immediately, because we're not playing any games with it.
So we had Esteban Abreu on the last episode.
Esteban's amazing, by the way.
He's awesome, cool dude. Also from New York Metro, so that was cool. But he gave us a lot of feedback about UH and like what they were doing to rectify the situation. Yeah. And I have to say, like, if I was a junior guy in that situation like that, I feel like the answers and how it was addressed by the command, I mean, I feel like I would be pretty satisfied. In comparison to some of the stories you hear out there, I feel like it was addressed quickly and yeah, the concerns were taken real and it was rectified. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, a lot of times it comes down to, somebody trusting leadership enough to let them know that they have a problem or something just isn't quite right.
Right.
I was at a town hall meeting. We were at a town hall meeting yesterday, and we had a member of the community come up and say, there's a stop sign missing on this one street. And, the way the question was asked, it was almost as if the guy asking the question was unsure about what we were going to say.
Right.
Like, we were like, please let us know where it's at. We'll replace that stop sign immediately.
Immediately, right.
Like, and he's like, oh, by the way, some of these streets need to be restriped. Please tell us where. We got $2.7 million set aside where we're restriping our streets and our parking lots, and we'll prioritize whatever you think is a safety issue. Please let us know. We're working from our list, but if you have a list that maybe has a different priority than we have, please share it with us. We'll take that information in and we'll act accordingly. The last thing we want to do is have someone with a concern. We'll address it.
Reminds me of a list. Last town hall, we had a list of dollars that could be made available for MWR improvements. You want to talk about that a bit?
Well, yeah. So, when you go through base improvement plans and projects, money gets set aside and it gets earmarked for projects. Well, some of those money, some of the funding that was set aside, it wasn't executed on. So right now I have a list of projects and I have funding set aside. So what we did was we posted the list of the projects that had funding set aside for execution. And we asked the community for their preference in priority for which projects they wanted us to tackle first. And I think that's just a smart way to go about it. Like, a lot of it all needs to be done. But, we could certainly, canvass the community for the order they would like it done in. And I think that's fair, and I think it's actually helpful.
Okay, sir. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today. Is there anything you want to leave with the community as we start 2023 here at CFAY?
Trust one another, communicate, and really just look out and back one another up. And if something doesn't look quite right, let us know. We'll take action on it.
The Giant Voice Podcast is a production of Commander Fleet Activities Yokosuka Public Affairs Office. The views expressed in this podcast do not necessarily reflect the policy of the Department of the Navy or Department of Defense. Thanks for listening.